In 2007, I became aware of a book called King and King. I didn't even know this was in our collection. I mean, we have lots and lots of children's books. So when I had a parent come to me and just want to request a reconsideration of this book in our collection, I decided I better read it. The first thing that happened is you have a copy of our request for reconsideration. It's important for you to have a form available and everybody you work with knows about it, and you have a policy that goes along with this. And so the family filled this out after having read that, and I sent them a letter back that said I had presented it to my board of directors, and they had read it, or I read it to them, and they agreed that the book would stay on the shelf as is. What the Issa family had requested was to either have the book removed or to have it relabeled and put in a special section for books like that. And so the board thankfully was behind me in my decision, and knowing that this was the thing to do. And this is what King and King looks like in the Access Pennsylvania database. And looking at that, and I showed that to my board, and I said, look, 30 other libraries have this in Pennsylvania, and look at the subject headings. One of the subject headings is homosexuality. So the parents shouldn't have been surprised when they were halfway through reading it what the subject matter was. So that was one thing that I pointed out to the board. Also, the next thing I did was I contacted our library's attorney just to make sure what was our next step, because I had a feeling something was going to be brewing here. And Dr. Gardner, which some of you know, Dr. Gardner was here. We were good friends, and I knew that she was very much carries the flag for intellectual freedom, and as do I. And so she gave me contact information to Deborah Caldwell Stone, who is an attorney at the American Library Association for Intellectual Freedom. And speaking with her, she was able to give me talking points that I used with my board of directors. And some of the things actually that Dr. Gardner told me on the phone that I jotted down, that I should talk about the fact that the library serves a wide variety of people. Lots of straight people have gay and lesbian friends, so it's not just, it's a widespread kind of community need for a title such as this. The book has circulated without concern. I never had anyone else say anything about it. And no one has to read the book. It's there, but I'm not forcing you to read it. I didn't use it in a story time. It's not on a reading list that you have to read it. It's just there if it works in your family. Parents should be aware of what their own children read, but should respect other children and other parents. So that was from Dr. Gardner. Another thing that Deborah Caldwell Stone said, no one has ever successfully sued a library board over a challenged book. And parents ask librarians to help them choose books if they have concerns. That's one thing I really pushed, is that the parents, they have that opportunity to use the professional librarians that are in our library and ask them to help them find something that works for their family, and not to just go pick something and then be disappointed with it because it doesn't work for their family. Children have First Amendment rights, so it's not just the teenage adult materials that have been banned. It's children. They have First Amendment rights for their titles also. And it's unconstitutional to remove or change the status of a title once it's in the collection, according to her, and the library could be sued if we did do that. The next thing that happened was the family did come to a board meeting, and they had some power with them. They had 40 signatures from their neighborhood that they all decided that this book should be removed from the library. So, knowing that, I decided I need to bring out the big guns, and especially after learning that the Issas didn't like, Okay, they went, the letter that I wrote saying that we were going to be accepting it back into the collection, then they came to a board meeting and appealed to the board, trying to go over my head. That didn't work because I had the board and I were in the same wavelength. So the board denied their request, and in response to that, the family went to the township supervisors, who are the funding sources for our public library. So they were really getting us where it would hurt. And fortunately, the township supervisors, whom I had a good relationship with, and that's important if you're in a public library, to really have a relationship with your political institution that funds you, they decided not to micromanage the library board. They gave the library board the power to make that decision. And so, being rejected twice, this family came to the next board meeting and they brought the press with them. Knowing that they were coming and they had been rejected twice, I decided it was time to sit down with my board. We had a special meeting and I gave them talking points so they would feel comfortable and that we'd all be on the same wavelength, and that the full board, with their 7 members, were all in agreement, felt confident with talking points, and they were ready for this family, the press, which is the Allentown Morning Call. It's the Daily. That's who came. We had support letters from a board member who, you know, thought that we handled everything really well, and the youth services. And what happened, let's see, I've already talked about that, was we made the front page of the Morning Call 3 weeks in a row. Flap over children's book may mean it's more available, which often happens when you have a banned book. It's like people I didn't even know it was in my collection. And now everybody wants to read it. I have to keep it on reserve in my office so people can come and read it as they choose. Hundreds of people from, I mean, and this was just an all over the place, not just in the Allentown area. And great majority were positive, you know, you go girl kind of thing, and, you know, glad to see that the board is behind you and that kind of thing. And it came from all over the United States. We had comments everywhere. I had, this is a stack of all the emails that I received just from all over. I even alphabetized them by the person. It's fun to read through them. And then I got a call from Fox 29 News. They love all this controversial stuff. So I said, hey, yeah, bring it on, you know. So they came to my library, all the way from Philly all the way up to Macungie, filmed in the library, wanted to film the book. And I was at my parents' in Reading. They went all the way to my parents' apartment in Reading with a camera crew, a reporter, in my face, you know, asking me questions, trying to get me to say something controversial. But I was I stuck with the, you know, one person cannot make a decision for the entire community, and we give the parents the power, and I just expounded on that. That was my mantra. And then we made it to American libraries. And we were not only we were in the e-newsletter, but we made it in King and King Still Reigns in Pennsylvania, right here. So that was kind of exciting to see little Lower Macungie Library making a good decision and ending up in a national magazine for librarians. And by far, it was positive. We had families. I had a family that came into my library with a 3-year-old, a mom with a 3-year-old. She was crying. She has a family member who's gay, and just, you know, this book was so perfect for her family and her 3-year-old to just explain the differences in different families. And it's just, that's why you do stuff like this. That's why you stand up and take a stand. Sometimes you get smacked down. You have to, not everybody's going to be excited about it, but that's why you do it. You do it for those families in your community that can use it. So the American Library Association, they definitely want to know about these issues. So I did complete the challenge form and let them know, so we would be listed with their challenges, because I know you get a list of that the American Library Association has the challenges there. So, well, the reason I did remove it from the shelf is so everyone would have an opportunity to read it. I know when I was the director of the Boyertown Community Library in Berks County, and every once in a while there'd be a challenged book in the school district. My response to that is to take the book off the shelf, make a display, put stars and stripes around it, and say, read this book, make up your own mind. That's what I did. So no, it wasn't on the shelf, but it was available. It's come full circle. They're back in story times. They're, good relationship with the youth services director, and there's no hard feelings. And, they had a right to challenge, and I had a right to stand up to it, and we respected each other. They came in to my office and apologized for all the brouhaha, and for myself, it kind of just got my juices going. I kind of liked it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, but make sure you do your homework and have. It helped. If I hadn't had my board of directors behind me, this would have been a whole different outcome, I'm sure.